start.
Hey guys, it's Adrian here to advocate for Newgrounds audio moderators to receive access to edit the Geometry Dash whitelist. I am a Newgrounds audio moderator, and I constantly get DMs about people who, for whatever reason, are not able to get in contact with the current managers of the whitelist, the Elder Mods, on the Geometry Dash Discord, and they're stuck for 4 to 6 months after being scouted, after following all of our rules. In fact, I'm recording this right now for 4RTA's petition to fix this issue. Now, am I advocating that we completely switch over from Elder moderators to the Newgrounds audio mods? No, we honestly have enough to deal with in terms of people stealing songs or submitting AI songs for Geometry Dash. However, it would be really useful for when we are able to verify specific artists to just add them directly to the whitelist ourselves in a game that at this point is bordering legacy mobile game. And I would like it to keep its current functionality. How many rhythm games in this era do you know that you can take just whatever song off of, I guess the equivalent would be like SoundCloud, where independent artists can submit their music and gain fans organically through people typing in a few numbers and there's your song. In fact, I don't even know if Geometry Dash has been updated to support the massive amount of IDs that we currently have. I mean, I'm going to be completely real with you here. I do not play this game. I think I tried one level once and said, this is way too hard for me. And I used to have a lot harsher of an opinion about the Geometry Dash community, its player base, the overall form and function of the game. But what changed my mind was some random person taking one of my songs. I think it was You're Late for Work, which you can find on my Newgrounds discography. And they made a short little level out of it. And that made my day. And I was lucky enough to get grandfathered into the system because I was already scouted back in 2015. In fact, that was around the time that I became a moderator because I wrote a comprehensive guide on how to recognize and report songs that were submitted expressly against Newgrounds audio guidelines for the purposes of getting them into Geometry Dash. That was either almost a decade ago or over a decade ago now. God, I feel old, but it's safe to say that I have a long history with this game and its community, and I might have an idea of what its musicians want or need. Faster whitelist approval would be a start, considering that now scouting handles what whitelisting was initially invented to prevent. Stolen songs getting into Geometry Dash, or copyrighted songs getting into Geometry Dash. And let's face it, on mobile, the current setup does work to filter out unwanted stolen songs or potentially legally compromising ones. For the unscouted, downloads are already disabled, you can't get the file. And for scouted artists, there's an additional layer of security in which you have to actually get approved to use the songs. Meaning new artists who don't want their music in Geometry Dash just never apply to the whitelist, don't check the API tick box, and their music stays off the game, unless you're on PC. And at that point, who cares anyway, because it's just the user MacGyvering their game as opposed to Rob Top making money off of copyrighted songs. Or songs that the original author intended to be completely non-for-profit and objected to the premise of Geometry Dash in the first place. However, for those who actually do want their music on Geometry Dash and they happen to be unlucky enough to be new on the scene, they run into, as I was mentioning, the equivalent of breadlines. Even though I don't play the game often or at all, I constantly get complaints from users who are like, can you please help me with the whitelist? How do I get scouted? How do I do this? How do I do that? Who are the Elder Mods? And granted, on the Newgrounds side, all of this information is fairly easy to find. You get scouted by other users seeing that your music is quality, and then they recommend you for the audio portal. But to get on the Geometry Dash whitelist, you have to go over to the Geometry Dash Discord, find an Elder Mod, which I was not able to find wherever they are posted. And once you find them, hope that they're active. And if they're anything like me, it could be a week, it could be a month, God knows what they're doing.
ADHD, touching grass,
having adult responsibilities, or my personal favorite, crippling depression and social anxiety. And it could literally take forever for them to get back to you. They could simply ignore you. We don't really have that problem with our moderators here on Newgrounds. We may have some that are more active than others, but we typically always have active moderators, including our site administrator, Tom Fulp, who actually does a lot of moderating. And again, I'm not advocating to remove the elder moderators from their current positions. All I'm saying is that since Geometry Dash is directly accessing our servers for files, it would be nice to have some people controlling the whitelist on both sides. I know that RobTop has gradually been stepping away from the behemoth that Geometry Dash has become, and especially the still miraculously growing community. And we may have to face the reality that that whitelist stops being updated, in which case I would advocate for the whitelist to be stripped entirely and allow the game to function purely based off of Newgrounds' existing API. I think that we have enough protections in place that, I mean, there's not much more you can abuse it than it's already been being abused. As a preservationist, I would like to see the game in more or less its present form for as long as humanly possible. I hate the idea of internet impermanence, where things stop functioning simply because a server here or there refuses to work, someone doesn't have enough money to pay for it, or simply no longer wants to maintain it. I know there are ways to MacGyver around that where you can host your own server, but for a community as large as this, that's not nearly as much fun as being able to, play. I know there's going to be people who jump up and down and say, I told you so, the moment that it happens. And as much as I absolutely despise having to remove God knows how many stolen and AI submissions I've had to remove. I don't know, I just don't want to see it die. We've got a whole API feature of our Newgrounds audio portal, a whole checkbox that would be rendered nearly completely pointless because I don't know that many people actually using it besides RobTop, at least not to this level of success. Be like a vestigial organ, like a dew claw, if Geometry Dash were to disappear or cease to function, which I personally don't want to see. I've made a lot of friends in the community in several languages, in English and Spanish and French and Russian. There are so many new musicians I've met who either started their music journey almost purely because of the desire that Geometry Dash inspired in them to interact in our community. In fact, some of those users used to try to cheat their way into Geometry Dash only to figure out that the easiest way out of their current predicament was through following our rules, which led them to become pretty awesome members of our community. And that just wouldn't happen with Geometry Dash half functioning in the sense it's completely reliant on Discord elder mods, and it will be the case if onboarding is continually frustrated that you're going to see less and less new music in Geometry Dash while the theft continues. My argument is to make it easier to get legitimate music in the game to make people more motivated to not break the rules. Less people breaking the rules means less reason to have such confusing policies as the whitelist in general, but we better work fast because the alternative is a game that's effectively dead that people have to download on Steam to get the songs that they want in there, and that's not going to foster a community that's enthusiastic about creating new music and new levels and new experiences. What you're going to get is a bunch of people who download copyrighted music off the internet and make some fancy levels, and the game is going to become less profitable and less active. Because if I know anything about the average consumer, they're sure a hell of a lot less passionate than people interested in independent music in the first place. And if you want proof, just ask yourself how many original songs you've seen on Osu, Piano Tiles, or whatever that Japanese rhythm DJ game is. It's not a whole lot versus Geometry Dash, for which the entire premise is original indie music, for which it is an effective promotional tool. I mean, how many independent artists have become famous purely because of those games? I promise you, it's not as many as Geometry Dash. And even Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Band Hero, and other dinosaur-era rhythm game titles that made it big are based almost entirely upon songs that are owned by labels, unless you count custom tracks, but most of those are too. I simply can't imagine another indie game that has had more impact on the most important community in my life than Geometry Dash. In my opinion, it has been a huge driving factor in a swath of young, enterprising musicians realizing they can do this music thing, and that makes it worth preserving as long as we possibly can. So that's my argument. Give Newgrounds moderators the keys so that we can help preserve this historic game and assist its storied community in sharing their music with as many people as possible and having as much fun as possible. If you want to keep Geometry Dash alive, sign the petition in the description box below and comment Newgrounds audio moderators to whitelist before GTA 6.